Hello.
Hi! I'm Olivia.
And I'm Madison.
And this is installment number 2. One completely booked. I forgot our name for a second. That's because of me. I'm looking at me. And our book for this week is Tony Hogan bought me an ice cream float before he stole my mama.
Before we go into the summary, we're going to talk about our first impressions of this book because
When you view this cover,
what do you think? Do you think of ice cream? Do you think of who is this Tony Hogan? Do you think of something comical because the title itself takes up the entire page and that they tried to put a little ice cream float at the bottom and it's just kind of like...
It's like a title with a cherry on the... Oh, not on top. It's on the bottom. Now it's on top! I definitely, when I saw the cover of this book, I thought teen-ish. I thought...
Really?
Romance, rom-com-y. I don't know why. I think it was the font, and I think it was the...
My color
scheme. Yours. Yeah, a little bit.
I thought it was a lighthearted, sort of like oriented more towards a guy, comical, like humorous book.
It's not.
Surprise!
Surprise!
It's not
heavy. It deals with dark, difficult themes, and it takes you totally by surprise. The girl in this book has a very tough life.
This story is about a girl named Janie who grows up with her mother, who is going in between singlehood and marriage and divorce and all that stuff, and how all of these interesting decisions affect Janie's lifestyle as she
tries to find her own path.
Yes, thank you.
It's told in first person all the way through, and it starts out with her being born. So she tells her whole story from her perspective, from being born through being a late teenager. And it wasn't told in a cheesy kind of way, because when I think of someone telling a birth story from their own perspective,
yes.
I don't think
yeah.
I'm skeptical. But this was done in a really great way, and it was believable the whole time, I thought.
Yeah. And the language does, like, mature over time, but not so drastically that you're, like, bored at the beginning when she's talking like an infant, you know?
Giant age gaps. It progresses slowly. So you do see her grow up.
Yeah.
But it's like the way you see a child grow up. You just notice one day that, whoa!
Yeah.
Look how big you're getting! That's sort of how this book was. This book exposed me to a lot of things I don't normally read about, and I haven't been exposed to in my life, but in my experiences, so I learned a lot in 1980s Scotland.
Regarding things like drugs and abusive relationships.
But all this stuff is still going on today, people deal with it all the time.
Yes.
It's nothing new. But it's just as tragic. When I first started reading it was sort of hard for me to get into because it's written in a thick Scottish accent and the words are spelled out as they would be said in a Scottish accent. And it reminded me of Huck Finn when I was reading it, the way I sort of had to stumble over that dialogue at first. But it didn't take me long before I got into it. By the end, I didn't even notice it. And then I even started thinking in the Scottish dialogue.
Yeah, me
like,
too, actually.
Like,
it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of you.
Not to.
No.
Do not.
Nay.
Do not.
Does nay.
Doesn't.
Okay, we don't sound Scottish, but it does when you read it in your head.
This first line is...
It's pretty great. Okay, we're gonna read the first sentence, and I'm gonna bleep out anything that you can't be saying.
You're gonna bleep me out?
I'm gonna be the bleeper.
Okay.
And you be the reader.
Sounds good. Alright, so here's the first line. Get out, you...
Bleeping! Bleeping!
Little...
Bleeping, bleeper!
Were the first words I ever heard.
Don't you want to read this book? I did when I read that book.
Overall, this book had some really fantastic lines as well. But, like, things like saying, she was my ma and it was us against the world from that night on.
Which is so true, actually.
Down to the lines of, are you sick, ma? Like, do you need help? Just some great lines between a mother and her child. Hey,
that was your great line.
Do you need help? We can cut that out.
This title is a sentence in the book.
Yes, it is.
I think the sentence is at least, Tony Hogan bought me an ice cream float before he stole my mama. Although, something like that. Yeah, it's got like a word before, but this is a sentence in the book, and it does really happen. And if you want to know who Tony Hogan is and why he bought her an ice cream float and how he stole her mother, then you will have to read this book to find out.
This book could have used a much clearer title. I think that this title made me think that Tony Hogan was actually going to be a bigger part in this book, when in reality he's only about a third of the book.
He represents a lot, though.
That's true. He does.
Symbolism.
He's sort of like the starting domino.
Yeah.
For the rest of this book.
Yeah. This does happen really early on, though. Well, we conferred, and after some deliberation, we've decided to give this book 3.5 somethings out of 5. 3.5 haggises. 3.5 haggises.
Haggai?
Hagen.
3.5 cuppas.
Cuppas!
Out of
3.5 cuppas out of 5. Cuppas.
I just
Cuppas with a side of haggis.
Cuppas and a side of haggis.
Tune in next week for a video about Beautiful Ruins by Jess Walte.
If you're interested in reading any of our blogs or maybe watching any of our other weekly YouTube video vlogs, feel free to stop by our website at www.wearecompletelybooked.blogspot.com, which will also be down in the comments below. Speaking of comments, feel free to comment. If you agree or disagree with any of our opinions, you can like or dislike our video. We love any sort of feedback you can give us. And if you have any book recommendations, just let us know in the comments section and we will try to read it as fast as we can. Thanks for stopping by, San Diego.
It's our pleasure to talk to you today.
Bye! Bye!